So please welcome, even if virtually, the director, Ayten Amin. As Ayten cannot see you, I'm going to take a photo of the crowd and send it to her. Okay, Ayten, as we have little time, we started a bit late so that everyone could go in. I'm going to start with you very fast. I would like to thank you for taking the time to be with us with the tests and being ready for this talk. I assume this is your first talk about the film after the screening of the film. Your previous film, Villa 69, which was done in 2013, it was dealing with a terminally ill older man, and he was an aristocrat. In Souad, we're dealing with the youth in a complete marginalized community. And I wanted to ask you, was it a succession for you? Because both films deal a bit, in a way, with the concept of death. How did you move from Villa 69, about this aristocrat man, to a complete marginalized society with these two teenage girls who were looking for themselves?
I haven't thought about it before, that they're different, but at the same time, when I was writing Villa 69, it was based on events or characters that I knew in my life. Although when I was making Souad, it was actually much more personal for me, because what I was dealing with in Souad about young girls and women and the identity crisis during the teen years was things that I have lived and was something very personal for me. And although we seemed to be coming from two different worlds, I actually identified with those girls very much, and from the beginning, when I had the idea for the film, it was all about researching what was happening with those girls and seeing, because I think that the thing of the identity crisis of women in Egypt, it's all similar, even if it seems different. But so yeah, the thing is, you cannot be yourself all the time, or you have to have a certain character to get by and to be accepted. So that's why I think I was so interested about their world. And at the same time, I didn't think about that they were both dealing with death. Maybe I'm interested in the subject, but I was not thinking about it, not consciously.
Let's also talk about shooting in the Nile Delta. Actually, let's discuss a tiny bit. We've seen so many films, contemporary ones, that are dealing with Cairo, with Alexandria as a main center focus. Why did you decide to go to this particular place, Zaazit, and shoot your film there? How did it come to you to go there?
Well, it was from the beginning, when it was just an idea. When I started talking to my co-writer Mahmoud Azzat, Mahmoud he's a well-known poet, and he was an influencer during the revolution, so he had like thousands and thousands of followers. And I started talking to him about the idea of these two girls, and I was telling him that I want to set this film outside of Cairo, that I want to talk about girls who come from small cities. So he started talking to me about followers he had from small cities who used to send him all the time, or try to chat, or try to know things about his life or the life in Cairo. So it was, I don't know, maybe I was really curious that why people from small cities, or even small cities, they are never main characters in our films or our TV series. Unless maybe the South sometimes in TV. Otherwise, we always have the heroes and protagonists coming from the big city, and I think it's the right to be filmed and to be there, and it's okay for them to be filmed.
You're speaking about the characters who have the right to be filmed. You have two fantastic actresses who really pull the film together. I wanted to ask you a bit, how was it to cast those films? Did you have a casting process? Did you know these girls? Obviously, they are non-professional actresses. How was the casting process, and how did you take them on the journey of doing the film with you?
Well, it took us a while. It took us like 4 to 5 months to find them. My first AD, Mustafa, he was in charge of this. And Mustafa actually is from a small city, and he was studying in a small city, and he was always talking to me about his friends. So we started actually casting and auditioning his friends. And even before writing, we were auditioning girls who were followers of Mahmoud. This was the process. So we started doing casting for, I think, for more than 250 girls. And I chose those 2 girls at the end, because it was a long process where we were like eliminating at every stage. But at the end, it was like there were these 2 girls and other 2 girls from other cities, and I kept doing rehearsals with them for weeks, and then I chose them because I felt that they had more input. You know, that there's a bit of improvisation in the film, and I did not want actresses to just play the role. I wanted girls who had an input, who I can, which can be like beneficial to the film. So they had this. They had an inner world, and they were very sensitive and very smart, and they really wanted to make it. So they were very generous about what they were sharing from their life.
You're speaking about sharing what one has in his or her life, and our program is about generational conflicts, generational encounters, what we're presenting here at the SAFAR Film Festival. And I wanted to ask you, just to close, before we take maybe a couple of questions from the crowd, there is an emerging generation that came in Egypt after those 10 years that rocked Egypt and the whole Arab world, these youth that has fresher ideas and dreams, but also constant pressure, as we see in your film. How do you view the Egyptian youth today in light of you working on that film?
Well, there was one part that I was very curious about the social media. And I think the social media changed our lives. It changed us as human beings, and it changed our relationships, the way we portray ourselves to the world. So that was part of the curiosity of writing and doing this film. And when I started to get to know the girls, they were kind enough to let me into their lives, where they were talking constantly to me about their lives on social media, the people they talk to, the people they follow, and this was largely in the film, and it was based on their experiences, because when we were doing rehearsals, we were still writing, so I used to do rehearsals and shoot them, and then go back to the writer, Mahmoud in Cairo, and show him what we were doing, and try to integrate all of what we were doing in the script. So I think I don't know what I discovered, but I lived with them. I got close to them. I discovered a lot of things about them, and about and as you say, the pressures, which seems less, because they have a certain kind of freedom on social media, but at the same time, I think it's much more depressing and disappointing, because at the end of the day, it's like it's a virtual freedom. It's not real. So at the end of the day, in their daily lives, in their real lives, it's not that free. So they constantly have to lie, and they have really several identities.
Speaking of virtual, do we have any questions to Ayten, which she will answer virtually? Anyone has a question, comment? Yes, please. I will ask you to be loud, and if Ayten doesn't hear you, I will repeat it.
She didn't really tell us
how did Souad and Ahmed meet? You didn't say that.
well, يعني for us as a history in the film, they met like a year before online, and there are things that were taken out of the film when he was explaining how they met. They were she was just commenting on a post that he did, and they started to flirt, and then he went inbox and he started chatting to her, and then they started talking, and they never stopped talking because he liked her.
Other questions? Anything you want to comment, to ask Ayten, who's generously with us? Do I see someone? Or yeah, yeah. Sorry, I don't see you. There is a light, so I can't see you.
Thank you for the film. I actually found it very moving. I think I was in tears at the end. Beautifully constructed narrative, and the way I think it gradually brought us into the story and sucked us in was just a marvel experience. I was interested in the Egyptian filmmakers that you were influenced by. I mean, I do see obviously influences by Italian neorealism and French cinema. But what Egyptian directors were you influenced by?
Ayten, did you hear that?
No.
Okay. Okay, so we have a question from a gentleman who was saying that he was very moved by the film. He said it was very nicely, beautifully composed and shot, and he was in tears at some point. And he thanks you for the film, and he's asking you if you had any Egyptian filmmakers whom you were referenced by. He said that he saw a bit of Italian neorealism and there is a French influences, but did you have any Egyptian filmmaker who influenced you while doing the film?
Well, not directly, but at the same time, there's a tribute in the film for the 80s directors, Mohammed Khain, Atif al-Tayyib, and the Khayri Bishara, Rafat al-Mihi, Dawood Abd al-Sayed, who I really love their cinema, and I think I was, of course, influenced by what they were doing, especially in the 80s, and especially what Atif al-Tayyib and Mohammed Khain did when they were shooting in the streets, and they were trying to make realistic films about people in their daily lives, and I still remember quite well because I worked with Mohammed Khain as an assistant when he was always talking about that the people are the most important thing, and how to capture their essence, and even when I was working with him and we were like preparing for his films, the way he used to work and the way he used to have these observations about people, I think, of course, it influenced me. But not in the style, but it influenced me as a filmmaker in the way I'm thinking about cinema, in the way I'm thinking about people, in the way I'm thinking about the characters that I want to talk about.
Thank you. I think we run out of time, unfortunately. Very quickly, can you make it extra quick? Okay. Very briefly, Ayten, as an answer, we have a lady who was very moved by the film, and thanks you for it. Obviously, you developed a special relationship with the two girls, and she was interested also in how you developed the character of Ahmed, who had a very kind of observational tone. How did you come up with Ahmed?
Well, Ahmed is he's very similar to a lot of Egyptian guys, and I think even Mahmoud related to him very much. So when we were talking about him, when we were writing, we were talking that that he did hurt her or he did do irresponsible stuff, but at the same time, it was never intentional. It's just the way he was brought up. He was never brought up to think about the consequences of what he was doing, and he's not even happy in his life. He doesn't even question what he's doing. He doesn't question that he's actually betraying his girlfriend. So it was like he was doing things that did hurt her, and at the same time it was never intentional, so it's complex. And I was trying to understand him, or trying to have empathy for him, not sympathy but empathy. You can see where he's coming from, and at the same time he's not really a bad guy. He's not a typical. He did have feelings for her, and I was intrigued by the complexity of his character.
Ayten, thank you so much for being with us. If we can give Ayten a round of applause.
Thank you.
I just want to remind everyone that the film is out in UK cinemas by end of August with the support of the distributor, the BFI, whom we would like to thank for supporting this screening. For all of you who are fans of Egyptian cinemas, I want to tell you that as part of the program, we have two beautiful documentaries, Lift Like a Girl by Maya Zayed, and also the documentary of Rabih El-Khoury, which for both of which actually will be screened with a Q&A with the filmmakers. And also we're very happy to show the short film, I'm Afraid to Forget Your Face by Sameh Hala, which won the Palme d'Or at the latest Cannes Film Festival. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening, and we hope to see you in the coming days at the festival. Thank you, Ayten.